Looks like it was someone's axe to grind, so to speak, rather than...
That, see, once you do it, see, depending upon how you view something, that particular vantage point you secure for yourself in that vision, so you see the things you see. But if you take it chronologically, if you move it from Q going this way, then you can see all the differences, and you can speculate now upon why the differences exist. We could go back on our table, couldn't we? We could go back on our table. We could say, well, and with Thomas, that's the great shop which we haven't done. But there's a very nice relationship between this kind of thinking, Cynic and Stoic, and the Gospel of Thomas, especially in the way in which he uses words, because one of the key functions of the sage as a Cynic or Stoic is to use words to confront one another most directly. Right? And therefore, it's a different, it's not a Messiah message. It's not a, it certainly can't be looked upon as a Messiah in the Hebraic sense.
Do you have some favorite Q passages?
You're not going to find, look, you're not going to find faith in the idea of either in the Gospel of Mark or in Q.
Do you have any favorite Q?
Oh, I thought you said faith, excuse me.
Do you have any favorite?
See, that's what happens.
Favorite Q quotes, or do you?
Oh,
do you
yeah.
As a sampling or representation
Yeah.
of this thought?
Someone approaches Jesus and says,
A lot of Native Americans have worked with dreams too, and
yeah.
they also seem to be very much, let's say, naturistic, or they put a great deal of primacy on the laws of nature. Being
Oh, yes, very, yes.
so we
Yeah.
almost leap from that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, there are quite a few parallels. Yeah. Yeah, that's the case.
Was the distinction between a Stoic and a Cynic a person who would apply Platonic methods to break apart those concepts? Is that the Stoic or the Cynic?
It's really, I think it's a interesting difference that the Cynic is not even interested in writing down his thoughts. He's not interested in demonstrating any scholarship. He wants to speak directly from a tradition, and he's going to mold it and express it as an extreme ethical position. And he's going to say that culture and all of the forms it takes are not significant. The only significant thing is to transform yourself and do it right now. The Stoic then is saying the same thing, but he's going to have recourse to a theology. And the other significant difference between a Platonist and a Stoic is that a metaphysics presupposes a view of physics. They go together. You have a cosmology and you have a metaphysics. And you can explore the development of that dialectically by making all of the classes of distinctions, especially between these terms. Since the Stoics are not interested in making these distinctions and they think they're worthless, they neither have a cosmology nor do they necessarily have a physics. They don't have a physics. What they tend to have as a view of physics is actually very similar to, if you're familiar with him, Hobbes, Thomas Hobbes. Representational. Yeah.
But getting back to the idea of a sage and whether or not Jesus set himself up as a sage, or the argument that he set himself up as a sage or as a Messiah, there's a great difference between a sage and a Messiah.
Yeah.
I don't think they're entirely comparable. If you study hard enough and what have you, you may become a sage. That in no way means that you will be a Messiah. That is sort of a special class.
Yeah.
So would a
That's
Messiah
right.
feel the need to even advertise himself or herself, depending upon the view,
No.
as such? A sage, yes. You know, I'm a model, follow me, think my thoughts, live the way I live. Not a Messiah.
Well, See, if you go to John, it's Gospel of John, it has that element.
I mean, you just be, you don't announce or
No,
advertise.
both. No, it's in John, depending on which Gospel. It's clearly in John you have it. Here, let me well, I prefer to I was going to go off my head and here's one. Someone said to him, "I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus answered, "Foxes have dens, birds of the sky have nests. The Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." I have a real fun one, and I marked it up, but
Don't follow me home anyway, that's what that.
all right. Someone says to him, "Say, is the kingdom of heaven profound?" He said, "If you think it's profound, the fish will get there before you." Profound, deep. Oh, you think the kingdom of heaven is lofty? Well, the birds will get there before you. That kind of direction, you know. What? Very typical. That kind of direction, that fun kind of challenging people's. It's Dharma combat. It's a very, very rich, very beautiful. John heard about this. I'm going to the end of it. And sent his disciples to ask, "Are you the one to come, or should we look for another?" Jesus said, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind recover their sight, the lame walk, lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, dead are raised, and the poor are given good news. And the truly fortunate ones are the ones who are not disturbed at hearing about me."
You don't have to announce it.
Everyone who hears my words and does not do them is like a man who built a house on sand. The rain came, the torrent broke against it, and it collapsed. Hey, can the blind lead the blind? Wouldn't they both fall into a pit? Response: a student's not better than his teacher. It's enough for a student to be like his teacher. That's all. Nothing is hidden that will not be made known. Nothing secret that won't come to light. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the light. What you hear in a whisper, proclaim in the housetops. Don't be afraid of those who can kill the body, can't kill the soul. Can't you buy 5 sparrows for 2 cents? But not one of them will fall to the ground without God knowing about it. Even the hairs on your head are numbered. So don't be afraid. You're worth more than many sparrows. What is the kingdom of God like? To what should I compare it? It's like a grain of mustard, which a man took and sowed